What if I told you a hidden foreign spy ring was secretly operating inside Burkina Faso 4 years, listening to presidential calls, mapping gold mines, and planning a president's assassination, until one ordinary report changed everything? Ibrahim Traoré was skimming routine military reports when a discovery chilled him to the bone. Israeli operatives had been running secret operations inside Burkina Faso for years. What he did next would send shockwaves through the Middle East. But before we get there, let me show you how an ordinary security briefing spiraled into the most dangerous moment of his presidency. A cup of morning coffee sat untouched, growing cold on Traoré's desk when Defense Minister Kabore burst through the thick oak doors. Despite the hum of air conditioning, sweat streamed down his forehead. Clutched in his trembling hands was a red-stamped folder marked, "Urgent, eyes only." "Mr. President," he gasped, voice shaking, "we picked up something during last night's communication sweep. This changes everything." The leather chair groaned as Traoré leaned forward, eyes locked on Kabore's. He hadn't seen his old comrade's hands shake like this since mortar shells rained down during their military academy days. "Show me," Traoré said quietly. What that folder contained would make his blood boil. Inside, encrypted transmissions, metadata logs, and a trail of chilling technical reports. Each page pointed to covert activity within Burkina Faso, but not from any usual enemy. One metadata header read, "Source, Tel Aviv. Destination, local assets." Traoré's voice dropped to a whisper. "Inside Burkina Faso?" Kabore gave a slow, grim nod. "According to our analysts, it's been going on for 3 years, maybe longer." The words landed like gunshots. For 3 years, as Traoré fought for sovereignty and built his presidency on independence, foreign spies had been operating freely within his nation's borders. But nothing could prepare him for what came next. The first decoded transmission appeared on the secure tablet. Cold, sterile words hiding something devastating. "Target Alpha confirmed. Gold mine production data transmitted. Local officials unaware of monitoring equipment." His military instincts took over, but his hands clenched into fists. Someone was stealing his nation's most vital economic secrets. Then another file, Target Beta operational. Presidential communication intercepts running smoothly. Subject unaware of breach. His heart dropped. They'd been eavesdropping on his family calls, his wife's voice, confidential strategy meetings with top advisors. Then the final blow, Target Gamma, Iranian weapons shipment detected. Recommend interception before delivery. "Sir," Kabore said, cutting through the fog of disbelief, "there's something else. Something personal." Traoré didn't know it yet, but the next document would collapse his world. It was a psychological profile, labeled, Subject, Ibrahim Traoré. Threat assessment. Critical. Dated 2 months before he was even sworn in, the report dissected his political leanings, anti-Western stance, and potential for Russian alignment with chilling detail. But one section drained the color from his face, neutralization options. They had plans to remove him, before he even became president. "There's more," Kabore said, reluctantly passing over another file. Inside was a photograph that shattered what little trust Traoré had left. Colonel David Ouedraogo, his personal security chief, the man who dined at his table, held his children, prayed beside his mother, smiling in a cafe with a stranger. That stranger's ID read, Eli Roth, Mossad Operations Officer. Then came the crushing memories. Ouedraogo's casual questions about meeting times, his strange insistence on being present during high-level Russian briefings, his well-timed absences during Chinese investment talks. For 8 months, Israel had lived inside Ibrahim Traoré's innermost circle, listening, recording, predicting his every move. And now, the world was about to find out. "How many people know about this?" Traoré asked, his voice calm, but beneath it, a storm of fury brewed. "Just us," Kabore replied, "and the 2 intelligence officers who uncovered it. I've sworn them to silence." Traoré nodded, thoughts racing. If Ouedraogo had been compromised, how many others were feeding information to Tel Aviv? How deep did this infection go? The answer would shake the very foundation of everything he thought he controlled. Over the next 48 hours, the truth they uncovered defied belief. 3 hidden surveillance hubs scattered across Burkina Faso, a covert telecommunications rerouting system that funneled all digital traffic through Israeli servers, and most horrifying of all, a kill list. 3 religious leaders who had spoken out against Israel's Gaza policies were named as targets. All 3 were dead. Their assassinations blamed on jihadist groups. But the intercepted files told another story: targets eliminated without attribution. Operations successful. "They killed our people," Kabor whispered, numb with rage, eyes locked on the evidence spread across the secure conference room. "On our soil. In our name." And from somewhere deep within Traoré, far beyond presidential restraint or diplomacy, came the reply: "Then they've declared war on Burkina Faso." What Ibrahim Traoré did next would stun the world. At precisely 3:47 a.m., coordinated military strikes were launched on all identified Israeli operations. Traoré himself led the raid on the capital site, unwilling to entrust the mission to anyone else. What they uncovered behind the bland facade of a local telecom company was beyond anything he had imagined: a fully operational Mossad station. Hidden compartments revealed assassination tools, forged IDs, encrypted drives. And inside a reinforced vault, the smoking gun, Project New Canaan, a sweeping Israeli intelligence program spanning 12 African nations. But one document hit harder than the rest: an operational update titled, Subject, Ibrahim Traoré. Status: high risk. Elimination strategy: rotor failure during scheduled aircraft maintenance. Estimated execution: next month. They were planning his murder. 3 days later, the world watched as President Traoré stood before the international press, the seized equipment and captured documents displayed behind him. Cameras clicked, the room electric with tension. "Today," he declared, voice steady and unshaken, "we expose a campaign of state terrorism carried out by the State of Israel against African sovereignty." He held up the intercepted files, Hebrew messages translated into plain English. While Israel claims to fight terrorism, these documents prove they have practiced it against African nations that dared support Palestine. The evidence was irrefutable: satellite images of surveillance hubs, intercepted voice logs from Tel Aviv, video testimony from captured agents, and technical breakdowns of targeted assassinations. The world couldn't look away. Israel's denials rang hollow under the weight of hard proof. Then came the aftershocks: similar operations uncovered in Mali, Niger, Chad. Burkina Faso was not alone. But what happened next was unprecedented. In just 6 months, 12 African nations expelled all Israeli intelligence operatives. The African Union passed its strongest resolution in decades, condemning the systematic espionage and covert assassinations. For the first time in modern history, Africa stood united not in silence, but in defiance. Yet the personal toll was immense. In the months that followed, 3 assassination attempts targeted Traoré. Colonel Ouedraogo was found dead in his prison cell. His death ruled a suicide, but many believed it was an execution to prevent him from testifying. The betrayal wounded Traoré more deeply than any bullet could. Each night, inside the presidential residence now swept daily for bugs, he wrestled with haunting questions. How many others were compromised? Could true sovereignty even exist in a world where superpowers felt entitled to African land, lives, and leadership? But he did not waver. 1 year after the exposé, Traoré returned to the same podium. Only now, 12 African flags flew behind him. His voice echoed through the chamber and across a continent. "They told us the cost of independence was too high," he said. "They warned us that challenging powerful nations would bring consequences." He paused, eyes scanning the audience. But the cost of silence, of letting foreign powers murder our people, steal our wealth, and plot our deaths, that cost was higher still. The room erupted into thunderous applause. In the streets of Ouagadougou, crowds cheered, tears streaming, fists raised. Africa stood taller. Because one small nation had refused to be a silent pawn. Because one man had dared to speak. As investigations spread, more Israeli operations were uncovered, the shadows retreating before the light. What had begun as a forgotten folder on a president's desk had become Africa's greatest counterintelligence triumph since the end of colonialism. A new era had begun. One sparked not by war, but by courage, by truth, and by the fire of a leader who refused to bow.